All right, this is Algebra 1. We are on today's Friday, November 1st, so 11/1, lots of ones. We are writing slope-intercept from points. Our objective today is to write the equation from a line and to graph an equation from just 2 points. So just as a review for slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b is our general form, where y and x are our variables. M is going to be our slope. We'll say this is our slope, and b is going to be our y-intercept. Y-intercept. As a review of slope, you can think of this as two ways. You can either think of it as your delta y over your delta x, your change in the y coordinate by the change in the x coordinate. And I know that some of you also like this form, which will be very helpful for today, which is y2 minus y1, all divided by x2 minus x1. And again, the y-intercept is where it crosses this y-axis up here. Like at what coordinate do you cross? And it should be pretty straightforward. That's usually one of the easiest things to find, although I'm going to make it the hardest thing to find on the backside of the notes today. So now that we have a review of slope-intercept form, let's go ahead and look at the first type of problem. You'll have two homework assignments tonight over the weekend. The first one is looking at a graph and finding this line. The second one is I give you 2 points and you need to give me the entire equation y equals mx plus b, where m and b are found. So m is obviously going to be found right there. Anyway, let's come to example number 1. Find the equation of the line. So the first thing that's easiest to find is, where do you cross the y-intercept? I cross down here at -3. So if I look at the original equation, y equals mx plus b, that's the general strategy, is write out the general form. What do you know? Well, I know b. I know that b, the y-intercept, is -3 in this case. So I can now write, okay, well, this is y equals something x, then -3. I need to figure out what this slope is right here, though. Again, it's -3 because it's crossing the y-axis at -3. But in order to find the slope, I need to find some lattice points. So lattice points are points that it goes through the little crosshairs on the graph. So if I go over here, I can see that these are the 2 points. I could have even done a bigger triangle. I could have done like a triangle that looks like this. It doesn't matter the size of the triangle as long as you reduce your slope. Obviously, if you choose the 2 closest lattice points, you shouldn't need to reduce your slope at all. So the triangle that I'm looking at is right here. And if I label the sides of this, if I say up is positive, this is going to be a +2. Right, you should always be going right. So I'm going over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is going to be a +5. You should always have a positive because you're always going to the right. Sometimes you will have a negative for the y-coordinate, so be careful on that. This one says I'm going to go up to, my delta y at least is 2, my delta x is 5, so it's going to be 2 over 5 for my slope. 2 over 5. And there's my answer. Y is equal to 2/5 x minus 3. What you should do now is you should try to do example number 2 by pausing the video and trying it for yourself. All right, you've unpaused. Here's how you do it. So again, you're looking for lattice points, and it doesn't matter which 2 you use. I'm going to use the 2 closest to each other just randomly right here. And it is going to be a very small triangle. I'm always going to the right, so this on the bottom here, I have a +1 in the x direction. And over here on the left, I'm going down from this point to this point, from the left point to the right point. I'm going down 1, so that's going to be a -1. Again, I'm starting with the general form for slope-intercept form, which is y equals to mx plus b. Get in the habit of just writing out what you need to find. We know what the b is. I can find that right now. The b is where I cross the y-axis. I cross it at 4. Sometimes you'll have a weird fraction here, but generally speaking, you'll have some nice numbers. So this is going to be 4. I have y equals blank x plus 4. In order to find the slope right here, again, I'm using delta y over delta x. The delta y is -1, the delta x is 1, so I can say that this is -1 over 1x, which simplifies to just y equals -x plus 4. Again, -1 over 1 is just -1, and -1 times x is -x. So this is the form that you should be writing on Khan Academy. All right, let's go on to example number, before we do example number 3, let me give you the general procedure for finding an equation from 2 points. First, find the slope. Again, this is going to be your m variable. And then finally, you're going to plug in all 3 of these. You're going to find your slope, your x, and your y, and then you should be able to solve for b. B is now going to be the hardest step. In order to do that, I'll show you. So first, I'm going to find slope. I'm on step 1 for example number 3. For example number 3, I'm using slope, and I'm going to love this equation where I do y2 minus y1 all divided by x2 minus x1. When I do that, I'm taking the y-coordinate of the second point, so this is the y-coordinate of the second point, that's going to be 4, minus the y-coordinate of the first point, which is -2. Notice I will have a double negative in this case, 4 minus -2. All of this is going to be divided by x2, the x of the second point, which is -1, and I'm going to subtract the x-coordinate of the first point, which is -4, so 1 minus -4. Notice that whenever you have negatives that are touching each other, they become positive. So my slope here is 4 plus 2, which is 6, -1 plus 4, which is 3, and this all reduces to 2. 6 divided by 3 is just 2. Again, you could have divided the top and bottom by 3 and you would have got 2 over 1, which again is still 2. So we have the slope, and I guess I should have been writing this out here. We've been working on slope this entire time. And if you don't know what slope is, that's the m variable in our equation, y equals mx plus b. So if I come and look at y equals mx plus b, y equals mx plus b, we have now solved for u, and we have an y and an x. You might not see it though. So let me sub in what I have. I have an m, this is 2, so I can say that's 2, but my x and my y, I can choose either this point or I can choose this point, whichever one you think is easier. I like using this point because it has one positive number and negatives scare me. Well, they don't scare me, but I know that I make mistakes more often when I use negative numbers. So the x-coordinate here is -1, the y-coordinate is 4. That means that I can substitute 4 for y and -1 for x. So this y is 4. And I can use a different color here. This y is 4, and that's going to be equal to m times x. And my x-coordinate now is -1, so 2 times -1. And the only thing that I have left over is a b. My only unknown value is b. And then I can solve for b. So I can say, okay, if I reduce this, 2 times -1 is -2, and I still have plus b. On the left-hand side, I have 4. And then in order to solve, I need to get rid of this -2 that's being added to b. So you can think of this as, oh, I'm subtracting a -2, which is the same thing as adding 2. So let me switch colors here.
Attention students.
So I'm going to be adding 2, and from there I'm going to get that 2 eliminated, and I have my b on the right hand side, and that is equal to 6. And I'm done. I just have to write this all out now. Again, my y equals mx plus b form is y equals, I know what my slope is, my m I found up here is 2x, and then I know what my b is, plus b, well b is 6, so plus 6, and I have my final equation. So on example number 4, try it out for yourself, pause the video now. Alright, so you've unpaused the video, here we go. Again, I'm first going to find slope. The slope should be y2 minus y1 all divided by x2 minus x1. Make sure that you do it in the correct order. You can either do this point minus this point, or you can do this point minus this point. Just keep going from the second point to the first point, or from the first point to the second point on the top and the bottom. I'm going to go from the second point to the first point because I'm just using the formula. So y2 is 1 minus, and then y1, sorry, that's x1. y1 is -11, so 1 minus -11 on the top, and in the bottom, in the denominator, I have x2, which is -4, minus my x1, which is 12. Alright, so here I go. I'm going to simplify this a little bit. Whenever I have negatives touching, they become positive, and in order to look at the bottom, I'm really kind of keep changing, so I'm going to do -4 plus a -12, and from there, 1 plus 11 is 12. On the bottom, I have -4, and I'm adding another -12, so they're both going the same direction. That is going to be a -16. Reducing that, I can actually divide the top and bottom by 4, I think is the greatest common factor. And if I divide 12 by 4, I get 3. If I divide 16 by 4, or -16 by 4, I get -4. So my slope is -3/4. Again, you can think of this negative on the top. It doesn't have to be on the bottom. So from there, I'm writing out my general form, y equals mx plus b. I know what my m is. My m is -3/4, and I can write my 4 a little bit better. My x and y, I'm going to choose this one because it's smaller. So my x here is -4, my y is 1, so my y is 1, my slope, and then times x, x is -4, and then I'm going to say plus b. From here, I'm going to multiply, and off here on the side, I'll give you a little hint. So if I have -3/4, and I'm going to multiply that by 4, that's the same thing as multiplying by 4 over 1. And whenever you multiply fractions, you multiply straight through. -3 times 4 is -12, and 4 times 1 is 4. And this reduces to -3, because -12 divided by 4 is -3. So from here, I can say 1 is equal to -3 plus b, and I need to undo this negative, so I can add 3 to both sides. Add 3, The 3's cancel out. I'm left with b is equal to 4, and I have my final equation. Again, it is y equals, the m is negative 3/4 x plus 4. And that concludes this lesson.